Topic: self-esteem and self-confidence. Subtopics: First, self-esteem and self-confidence. Second, indicators for a positive self-image. Third, indicators for a negative self-image. Self-confidence and self-esteem. Self-confidence and self-esteem do not always go hand in hand. People usually find it easier to build their self-confidence than their self-esteem, and, conflating one with the other, end up with a long list of abilities and achievements. Rather than facing up to their imperfections and failures, they hide them behind their certificates and prizes. But as anyone who has been to university knows, a long list of abilities and achievements is neither sufficient nor necessary for healthy self-esteem. So what then is the precise difference between self-confidence and self-esteem? Confidence comes from the Latin fidere, to trust. To be self-confident is to trust in oneself, and, in particular, in one's ability or aptitude to engage successfully or at least adequately with the world. A self-confident person is ready to rise to new challenges, seize opportunities, deal with difficult situations, and take responsibility if and when things go awry. Just as self-confidence leads to successful experience, so successful experience leads to self-confidence. Although any successful experience contributes to our overall confidence, it is, of course, possible to be highly confident in one area, such as cooking or dancing, but very insecure in another, such as mathematics or public speaking. In the absence of confidence, courage takes over. Confidence operates in the realm of the known, courage in that of the unknown, the uncertain, and the fearsome. I cannot be confident in diving from a height of 10 meters unless I once had the courage to dive from a height of 10 meters. Courage is a more noble attribute than confidence because it requires greater strength, and because a courageous person is one with limitless capabilities and possibilities. Self-confidence and self-esteem do not always go hand in hand. In particular, it is possible to be highly self-confident and yet to have profoundly low self-esteem, as is the case, for example, with many performers and celebrities, who can perform before an audience of thousands but then damage and even kill themselves with drugs. Esteem is derived from the Latin estimare, meaning to appraise, value, rate, weigh, estimate, and self-esteem is our cognitive and, above all, emotional appraisal of our own worth. More than that, it is the matrix through which we think, feel, and act, and reflects and determines our relation to ourselves, to others, and to the world. People with a healthy self-esteem do not need to prop themselves up with externals such as income, status, or notoriety, or lean on crutches such as alcohol, drugs, or sex. To the contrary, they treat themselves with respect and take care of their health, community, and environment. They are able to invest themselves completely in projects and people because they do not fear failure or rejection. Of course, they suffer hurt and disappointment, but their setbacks neither damage nor diminish them. Owing to their resilience, they are open to growth experiences and meaningful relationships, are tolerant of risk, quick to joy and delight, and are accepting and forgiving of themselves and others. Self-confidence is outward-facing, the ability to interact successfully with the world around you. It's built over time, with a defined set of skills and achievements you can rely on. It's typically easier to build self-confidence than self-esteem, but the two are intertwined in different ways. For example, many people are very self-confident but have low self-esteem. Some signs of self-confidence: appreciating and trusting your own abilities, not being afraid to be wrong, avoiding judging other people, confidence to deliver on commitments, asking for help when needed, adaptability and flexibility. Self-esteem is inward-facing, an emotional and cognitive assessment of your own worth, of self-respect and how you value yourself. "I don't feel good about myself" is often a phrase used by people struggling with self-esteem. Self-esteem issues shouldn't be ignored, because it's the filter through which your everyday life is lived, and the basis for how you interact with the world in both personal and work relationships. And not valuing yourself leads to negative behaviors, like the constant need to please, or always being submissive. Some signs of positive self-esteem: good grooming and lifestyle habits, avoiding negative self-talk, appreciating the skills of others, being able to say yes and no when you choose, accepting your shortcomings and limitations. How to boost self-esteem. In a nutshell, self-esteem is your opinion of yourself and your abilities. It can be high, low, or somewhere in between. While everyone occasionally has doubts about themselves, low self-esteem can leave you feeling insecure and unmotivated. You might be able to identify a few things that are affecting your opinion of yourself. Maybe you're being bullied, or you might be feeling lonely, or it could be a mystery. Either way, if you are wondering how to improve your self-esteem, here are some tips. First, be nice to yourself. That little voice that tells you're killing it, or not, is way more powerful than you might think. Make an effort to be kind to yourself, and if you do slip up, try to challenge any negative thoughts. A good rule of thumb is to speak to yourself in the same way that you'd speak to your mates. This can be really hard at first, but practice makes perfect. Try writing down 3 things that you like about yourself. Second, comparing yourself to other people is a surefire way to start feeling crummy. Try to focus on your own goals and achievements, rather than measuring them against someone else's. Nobody needs that kind of pressure. Third, get move, and exercise is a great way to increase motivation. Practice setting goals and build confidence. Breaking a sweat also cues the body to release endorphins, the feel-good hormones. Fourth, nobody's perfect. Always strive to be the best version of yourself. But it's also important to accept that perfection is an unrealistic goal. Fifth, remember that everyone makes mistakes. You've got to make mistakes in order to learn and grow. So try not to beat yourself up if you forget to hit Ctrl+S on a super important assignment. Everyone's been there. 6. Focus on what you can change. It's easy to get hung up on all the things that are out of your control, but it won't achieve much. Instead, try to focus your energy on identifying the things that are within your control and seeing what you can do about them. Try writing down 1 thing that you're not happy with, and 3 ways you could change it. 7. Do what makes you happy. If you spend time doing the things you enjoy, you're more likely to think positively. Try to schedule in a little you time every day. Whether that's time spent reading, cooking, or just conking out on the couch for a bit, if it makes you happy, make time for it. 8. Celebrate the small stuff. You got up on time this morning. Tick. You poached your eggs to perfection. Winning. Celebrating the small victories is a great way to build confidence and start feeling better about yourself. Try writing down 3 things you did well at the end of each day. 9. Be a pal. Being helpful and considerate to other people will certainly boost their mood, but it'll also make you feel pretty good about yourself. 10th. Surround yourself with a supportive squad. Find people who make you feel good about yourself and avoid those who tend to trigger your negative thinking. Have you ever told yourself, "I'm never going to make it at this company," or "I'm hopeless at my job"? It's quite normal. There's very few people who have never been self-critical of their work. Having said that, a lack of self-confidence in the workplace can be a real barrier to valuing yourself fully and seizing the best opportunities. So, what are the roots of a lack of confidence? And what can you do to fight against it? Lack of self-confidence. What are the consequences? A lack of self-confidence leads to negative emotions. They can involve fear of failure or not being loved, for example. Guilt, feeling that you're always responsible when things don't go the way you would have liked, shame, or a sense of exclusion. These emotions provoke negative thoughts such as, "I really suck," or "I missed out again." These thoughts, in turn, will influence your overall behavior. For example, if you feel fear, you may well adopt defensive behavioral patterns such as trying to plan everything up to the smallest detail, in an attempt to avoid unexpected things happening in your everyday life. What's the impact on your professional life? At work, a lack of self-confidence can lead to repeated failures or exclusion, which can hinder professional development. Indeed, if you feel incapable of taking on new projects and new responsibilities, you are less likely to get ahead in the workplace. Lack of self-confidence often causes a sense of frustration or even anger because it prevents people from doing what they could or would like to do. It's a truly vicious cycle. The accumulation of failures caused by a lack of self-confidence often only increases and worsens the core problem, as self-confidence issues are so closely related to the fear of failure. You might feel that attempting to avoid a potential failure by avoiding a task or issue might reduce your apprehension over it. But it also prevents you from experiencing a potential success that would help you in regaining self-confidence. Therefore, the more you avoid a subject or a situation, the more you'll perceive it as a danger due to your failure to tackle it head-on. Thus, if you lack self-confidence in the professional environment, you run the risk of adopting avoidance behaviors. As a result, you will likely overlook important responsibilities such as public speaking, managing sensitive files, proposing a project that you're really enthusiastic about, defending your own opinions. Feeling insecure can really hinder you during the recruitment process as well, especially when it comes to selling yourself to others. It deprives you of the chance to get out of your comfort zone in order to embrace new opportunities that are offered to you. Can you cure a lack of self-confidence? The good news is that a lack of self-confidence is not an immutable state of affairs, but rather a dimension of your personality that can be worked on. Coaching or psychotherapy can be of great help with this, but there's also other exercises that can, step by step, help you regain confidence in yourself. Here are a few. First, learn to talk to yourself more positively. As mentioned, the beliefs or prejudices we have about ourselves are at the heart of the whole process of devaluation, as they keep us in a persistent mire of personal dissatisfaction. Therefore, it's vital to learn how to have a kinder and more positive internal discourse. For example, you can first stop the harsh self-criticism as soon as you do something that isn't so great. Instead of reflexively thinking or saying, "Well, I'm hopeless anyway." You need to get your act together and make your speech more positive. Try imagining someone you love speaking this way to themselves in front of you. You would most likely try and help them put things into perspective and not let them talk about themselves like that. Well, you have to do the same for yourself. It's often the case that we are more benevolent to others than we are to ourselves. Second, accept your strengths and honestly acknowledge your weaknesses. Because no one has to be perfect in order to be valued or loved, it's necessary to get to know yourself better. Taking stock of your resources, as well as their limits, helps in consolidating or rebuilding self-confidence. It's then possible to make a list of your strengths and your weaknesses while trying to be as objective as possible. What can also help is noting down the positive compliments that people give to you. That's because when you lack self-confidence, you tend to remember only the negative things and to ignore all the positive things people have said. Making note of the positive alongside a negative will give you a more balanced view. Third, take the time to revisit past successes. Often when you lack self-confidence, it's difficult to bear in mind your past successes. As a result, you might constantly doubt your skills. If you look back at those moments of success, however, you will remember you drew upon resources you didn't know you had. What's more, taking stock of everything you've done over the last few months can be an interesting exercise in and of itself. This can help make you aware of everything that you have done successfully but that you might have forgotten or minimized. Fourth, strengthen your skills. Take 1 or 2 topics that interest you and invest the time in reading and learning about those areas. Sure, you won't end up knowing everything, but your expertise will really improve. It's true that strengthening your skills helps you feel more confident, since it begins to break down feelings of insecurity and ineptitude. Fifth, talk about it and reach out if you need to. Talking about personal difficulties can often seem hard to do as it can make us feel vulnerable. But talking and engaging in self-work with a professional such as a psychologist, psychotherapist or coach can help us deconstruct our beliefs and overcome a lack of self-confidence. Moreover, a caring management team in the workplace can be a real support in building or rebuilding your sense of self-worth. Self-confidence, especially at work, is a subject that concerns us all at some point in our lives. If you experience it after a professional failure such as being fired or a period of unemployment, it can also affect you in your day-to-day life. However, this outcome is not inevitable. It is always possible to work at regaining self-confidence. Benefits of self-confidence. When you believe in yourself, you'll be more willing to try new things. Whether you apply for a promotion or sign up for a cooking class, believing in yourself is key to putting yourself out there. For example, if you feel confident about a presentation you're going to make, you'll focus on delivering your message to your audience. If, however, you lack confidence in your ability to communicate, you may worry that no one is listening. You might struggle to concentrate and you may stumble over your words, which may reinforce your belief that you are bad at giving presentations. Fortunately, there are things you can do to boost your self-confidence. Whether you lack confidence in one specific area or you struggle to feel confident about anything, these strategies can help. What is self-image? Self-image is the personal view, or mental picture, that we have of ourselves. Self-image is an internal dictionary that describes the characteristics of the self, including such things as intelligent, beautiful, ugly, talented, selfish, and kind. These characteristics form a collective representation of our assets, strengths, and liabilities, weaknesses, as we see them. How is self-image developed? Self-image is a product of learning. Early childhood influences, such as parents and caregivers, have a major influence on our self-image. They are mirrors reflecting back to us an image of ourselves. Our experiences with others, such as teachers, friends, and family, add to the image in the mirror. Relationships reinforce what we think and feel about ourselves. The image we see in the mirror may be a real or distorted view of who we really are. Based on this view, we develop either a positive or a negative self-image. The strengths and weaknesses we have adopted affect how we act today. We continually take in information and evaluate ourselves in several areas, such as physical appearance, how do I look? Performance, how am I doing? And relationships, how important am I? With a positive self-image, we recognize and own our assets and potentials while being realistic about our liabilities and limitations. With a negative self-image, we focus on our faults and weaknesses, distorting failure and imperfections. Self-image is important because how we think about ourselves affects how we feel about ourselves and how we interact with others and the world around us. A positive self-image can boost our physical, mental, social, emotional, and spiritual well-being. On the other hand, a negative self-image can decrease our satisfaction and ability to function in these areas. How to address and change self-image issues. 8 exercises to increase self-image. First, troll travels. Who am I? Worksheet. Second, list 10 things you love about yourself. Third, list 10 skills you possess. Fourth, list 5 achievements of which you are proud. Fifth, list 3 occasions where you overcame adversity. Sixth, list 5 people who have helped you. Seventh, list 5 people who you have helped. 8. List 50 things you appreciate about your life. How can we create a positive self-image? Self-image is not permanently fixed. Part of our self-image is dynamic and changing. We can learn to develop a healthier and more accurate view of ourselves, thus challenging the distortions in the mirror. Self-image change occurs over a lifetime. A healthy self-image starts with learning to accept and love ourselves. It also means being accepted and loved by others. Specific steps to develop a positive self-image. Take a self-image inventory. Make a list of your positive qualities. Ask significant others to describe your positive qualities. Define personal goals and objectives that are reasonable and measurable. Confront thinking distortions. Identify and explore the impact of childhood labels. Refrain from comparing yourself to others. Develop your strengths. Learn to love yourself. Give positive affirmations. Remember that you are unique. Remember how far you have come. Examples of self-image. These may seem like little things, but they are actually big things. Doing something small, like acting assertively without being pushy or feeling guilty, is a sure sign of a positive self-image. Living in the present moment is also powerful. Those who often feel bad about themselves spend a lot of time dwelling on past mistakes. If you can let the past go and move forward, you will feel much better about who you are. Seeing everyone as your equal is another good sign you have a healthy self-image. People who feel bad about themselves often see other people as better than them. Knowing and recognizing that each of us is the same is a sure sign of a healthy person. Those with a healthy self-image have learned to honor and recognize both positive and negative feelings without getting caught up in them. Sharing your feelings with someone else can also help you feel better about what you are going through. Working to build positive relationships and steering away from people who bring you down can also go a long way to boosting your self-image. Other things that can be helpful include learning how to take criticism well, accepting challenges as a part of life, and learning how to value yourself. All of these small things can go a long way to keeping your self-esteem and self-image positive. There are many examples of a positive self-image. You act assertively without guilt. You don't dwell on the past. You see everyone as your equal. You don't allow yourself to be manipulated. You recognize both positive and negative feelings and share them with others. You find yourself doing different things to achieve balance. You seek out people who are positive like yourself. You accept challenges as opportunities to grow. You can handle constructive criticism. You are proactive and communicate clearly. You value yourself. You value other people. Healthy versus unhealthy self-image. So what does a healthy self-image look like? What about an unhealthy self-image? What's the difference? And what impact do both have on your life? Let's answer these questions by breaking down what it means to live with a healthy and an unhealthy self-image. As you read through these two examples, take inventory of yourself and identify whether your self-image borders more to the healthy or toward the unhealthy side of the scale. A healthy self-image. A healthy self-image is primarily based on an individual's personal feelings and perspectives. Here, individuals are no longer influenced by other people's opinions of them or by societal expectations. They instead make up their own minds about the internalized mental picture, idea they have of themselves. As a result, these people often have a more optimistic outlook on life and thereby more confidence in themselves and in their own ability. Why? Because they feel a greater sense of control over themselves and over their life. A person with a healthy self-image doesn't deny that they have flaws. In fact, they are realistic and clearly understand and accept the fact that they have their personal shortcomings. However, there is no critical judgment here. They acknowledge who they are and how they are at this very moment and do the best they can with what they have. A healthy self-image is of course built upon a high level of self-worth. Both work together to help shape a healthy personality, which effectively builds the foundations of an empowered life. An unhealthy self-image. A person with an unhealthy self-image tends to consistently focus on their flaws and limitations. In fact, they persistently criticize themselves and tend to judge most of their decisions and actions. What was I thinking? That was such a stupid decision. I can't believe I just did that. This constant critical judgment tends to distort their imperfections, making them larger than life. In fact, everything on the negative side tends to be exaggerated and blown out of proportion. This often happens because they are heavily influenced by other people's opinions of them to their own detriment. In fact, these people's lives are very much defined by societal standards, norms, and expectations. As a result, they are consistently comparing themselves to others and trying to live up to other people's expectations. And when they notice that they just don't measure up, this sends their emotions into a tailspin which triggers doubt, pessimism, insecurity, and eventually leads to discouragement and potentially depression. Whenever a person builds their self-image upon external factors, there will always be drawbacks. People's opinions change and societal expectations constantly shift. When these opinions and expectations are weighed in our favor, this leads to a positive outlook and more fulfillment. However, when they flip and become unfavorable or unhelpful in respect to the outcomes we would like to achieve, this then causes upheaval by sending our emotions into a tailspin because suddenly the perfect mental picture, idea we had of ourselves has been thrown out the door. It's certainly not a healthy way to live.